Welcome back to another edition of Boots, Balls and Bras with myself, Eartha Pond, and the formidable, amazing Farrah Williams. I'm just making up
this
intro.
She makes it up every week, but I'm glad to have my I was going to call you a thingy, but you actually, but you're not, because you do all the intros. So I missed you last week.
The boss.
You are the boss.
No,
last week, I had to do it without you. I was like, what is the script? How do I introduce the show? Blah, blah, blah. I was so reliant on you.
It's not like
I
you.
didn't realise till last week.
Oh, see?
So you'll miss, because I was on my own, lonely. But I'm glad you're back.
I've seen you been at Wembley. I've seen you been busy on 5 yesterday.
Yeah,
what was you doing?
And that's why I'm so sick. I did so much. I was on 5, and it was good. It was good, obviously, talking across the men's game. Obviously, they're able to talk about our pod, and hopefully some of their 1 million viewers now, because they've got one.
Woo! Congratulations!
1 million subscribers. So hopefully, we can add a few to ours if they tune into that later. Bloody hell! I've lost my words, because I don't know who's popping something like this.
Let me tell you, these guys in the background do not know the trauma. Do they know where we live? Do we know that noise?
That noise,
it's not normally confetti.
I mean, I'm gone. Let's just talk about the WSL, because you just threw me. Anyway, thanks for the 1 million subscribers for 5, but. Jesus, my heart, I need it back.
Can we get some tissue for Farrah? We got a leak in aisle number 1. There's a leak down in aisle number 1. Oh, Gabe. So yeah, WSL again came straight back into the season. Some big games. I'm donning the blue wire this week.
Yeah, I'll give it up for this week.
You're giving up for this week. We can't start anywhere other than the Emirates. Arsenal versus Chelsea. You were there, Cheshire Cat, looking at winning the 5th title in a row, giving it all, punditry, BBC and all of that. And then what happened?
You tell me. No, it's true. You know what, Earth? It's funny, right? Because the first 20, you watched it, right? The first 20 minutes, end to end, it was actually really quite entertaining. Like, tactically, it was like, okay, they're sussing each other out. Obviously, at Arsenal with Beth Mead. Big up Beth Mead, by the way, scoring. So, yeah, her goal. And then Chelsea hit back straight away. And it was kind of, the game was just balanced at that point. 20 minutes was good. And then, obviously, then there was a foul in the lead up to the corner for Arsenal's second. But even before the foul leading up to the corner, Arsenal just took control. Yeah. Like, they dominated the game. Actually, their tactics, I was talking about it with Jonas after, in terms of their press. Because if you look at Chelsea's goal, the only real success that Chelsea had was their goal in terms of breaking down Arsenal. They completely overcommitted a press and took the risk of, actually, if we get beaten our press, then we're going to be vulnerable. And if you saw the goal that they got through the middle, and it looked like there was acres of space in the middle of the park, there was, because Chelsea did really well to beat the press. But that was the only time in the game Chelsea were able to beat Arsenal's press. And the way that Jonas, especially because he's been international, Earth, to have like 2 or 3 days to turn that around and get a game plan in place, unless they were doing it before international, because they had Bristol, didn't they? So they probably can, take a little bit away from playing Bristol in terms of tactics and really focus on Chelsea, knowing if their players are fit from international, they're already heads up, already worked in advance, because tactically Arsenal are better than Chelsea. And that doesn't really happen to Emma Hayes. And Chelsea players couldn't solve the problems in game. Obviously, Emma made some changes at halftime. Didn't think any of the changes had any impact on the game. I mean, Frank Kirby had a penalty shout. I'd give her that. I think it was a definite penalty. I don't know if you've seen the block. Block. But in terms of impacting the game from the subs, for me, there was no impact from them. And Chelsea were poor for Chelsea standards. And I was trying to, I asked you the question, was Chelsea that bad? And that can happen. Or were Arsenal that good that Chelsea looked that bad?
To be honest, I think it's a bit of both. I think Chelsea were definitely not on their A game. And when you come across a team like you talked about in terms of Arsenal, they would have been building it up before they'd gone away. Like, they would have been working on that and then coming back in, like, ready for the game at the Emirates. They knew their fans were going to turn out. They would have had to put on a display. I think, to be honest, if they would have lost that game, it would have been chasing the rest of the season. So they knew they had to get it right in terms of performing on the day. And I think Chelsea just weren't at the races. I think they were a little bit complacent. I don't know if you saw some of the sort of pre-match stuff in terms of the interviews with Emma Hayes. There was on Sky, I think Jess Crichton asked a question in terms of like, how have they been prepping for Arsenal and blah, blah, blah. And Emma was like, not really been looking at them. Like, we just getting ready to play our game. Like, we've not looked at what they do, not looking at any of their tactics. I'll do my session, Denise will do her session, our goalkeeper will do his session, and then that's it. We'll just go out and play. And I was thinking, that's a bit, like, surely, like, obviously look at the amount of changes that Arsenal have and the personnel, they would have to change the way that they play. So I don't know, is it a way where actually can you just be that good where all you do is focus on you and not look at what the opposition have to offer? Because if that is what's happened, that's where I think she's been caught out this week.
You can, but I think that maybe she's just saying that for the media, maybe, because one of them managers don't want to give anything away. Like, if you're a manager, sometimes I think even the whole, of course, as a fan, as that's listening in, you want as much team news, you want as much information as you can get. But what manager's going to give up their tactics? What manager's going to sit there and go to, yeah, we've been focusing on blah 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 because we know Beth Mead's back and we know that Kim Little and Volty's back. They're not going to give you that, so she's probably playing down what they were doing, because I doubt very much Emma wouldn't go into a game prepared tactically with her team. But I think the fact Millie Bright's missing, I think that the back line were all over the place for me.
It comes back to that leadership though. Remember we talked about.
I think they definitely they missed her. They missed her yesterday. There wasn't a leader at the back, and I actually felt sorry for Mielda. I think she made, for the first goal, I think she was punished for that in terms of her being brought off at half time, because I don't think that she was the problem for Chelsea. I don't think it was like, or maybe it was a tactical decision to bring on Buchanan, because I actually thought Buchanan didn't do anything, like, in terms of, okay, she might have dribbled in to play a little bit more and played a few more passes through the lines, but in terms of defensively, so erratic. Like, no communication, going for her own players to win headers in the middle of the park, like a liability at times. So I felt like Mielda was probably punished, because if you saw the first goal, her and Jessica delayed really well. They were outnumbered in the transition, so they delayed well, but then she has to approach. She has to put some pressure on the ball, and I felt like she didn't put pressure on the ball early enough, and by the time she did, Arsenal had committed more bodies than Chelsea got back in recovery. The deflected ball fell to Arsenal anyway,
and all the time,
and then they were overloaded at the back post, and obviously we saw the Beth Mead goal. But I think that was, it just looked really disjointed from a Chelsea. But the Chelsea's point of view was sloppy. The only one that I probably could say could take a little bit of credit away from the game is Erin Cuthbert. In terms of her performance,
to be honest, she worked hard.
Yeah, worked hard, but there was trying to do stuff.
But there was nothing in it. There was nothing in the game.
She was looking for players. She was looking to, like, for somebody to take the, like, Sam Kerr was quiet for me. Didn't do anything. I was hyping up Neve Childs before the game, and talking about her and Beth Mead could be a really good matchup in terms of a neutral looking in. If you haven't watched the women's game, Beth Mead's come back in really good form from an ACL, and Charles, we spoke about in previous pods that she's probably the most improved and consistent player this season. She didn't have a good game. For me, I think this is the first time where I've watched the Chelsea, and I guess you look at Chelsea and every time maybe something's gone wrong or they've dropped points, they're like, oh, they're going to find a solution and they're going to make it better. This is the first time since Emma's retirement that I'm like, there is no solution. Yeah. So for them, she's going. So there's nothing really to kind of work out or put right. There is no answer. And this is the first time that I feel that I've seen that it's impacted the squad in terms of, like, who's going to be that person who's going to take it by the scruff of the neck, make things work, bring the team in, there was no one there. I was surprised because obviously when Millie Bright's not there, she's a leader. You lose that little bit of leadership qualities in terms of what she does. I was surprised that they didn't start with Sophie Ingle. Yeah, Sophie, she has that leadership. She has that consistency in terms of the role that she plays is so consistent. She doesn't panic. That Russo run straight through the middle of the centre half for her goal, her first half goal, would never have happened if Sophie Ingle's on the pitch, because she's always in front. She reads the game very well, gets in good defensive positions. So I don't think that happens. But it's all in hindsight. But that's with the mindset of being defensive. Yeah. That's not a Chelsea thing. They're like attacking, like teams have to look at what we do, like Emma said, and we go and play our game. So the fact that for them to start in a defensive mindset at the Emirates and think that, they're going to come and put the pressure, maybe they thought, actually, let's go toe for toe. And they just got... But they didn't even do that though. That's the thing. Like, you saw the stats, right? It's almost equal, right? I couldn't believe the stats. Yeah. This is why sometimes I'm like, I don't like to look at stats.
Oh, here we go.
No, it's just not a reflection of the gamer.
Yeah.
Like, Arsenal battered Chelsea. Let's be honest. There's no like you can't say anything other than Arsenal were dominant in every area. They were better first contacts. They were better second contacts. They were more aggressive in their press. When they countered, they did it with better urgency. They did it with the pace they committed, the quality in terms of efficiency.
Are you an Arsenal fan now?
No, but I'm saying to you. So the stats at the end of the game that says Chelsea had 52% possession, Arsenal 48. Chelsea had 12 attempts at goal, 6 on target. Arsenal had 12 and 5 on target.
Yeah.
The stats don't match up what I saw on the eye. Yeah. And also sometimes I think, it's so easy to read into stats and have an opinion based on what the stats are showing, as opposed to actually being there live and actually seeing the difference in the game. Which is why I only like watching live football. Yeah, because as a neutral, you'd have probably said, "Oh, it was an even game," but Arsenal were clinical. That's how you look at it. It was more than Arsenal being clinical. They were clinical for sure. Yeah, but in terms of really testing the keeper, no. To be fair, it never didn't get tested. It never looked like that on the TV. It looked like Arsenal were the dominant team. Yeah, and it's great because actually, for the neutral who was tuning in, everything's been Chelsea. Women's football, WSL, Chelsea. And actually, I was like, thank goodness. Because you have these games like FA Cup. No, and everyone, thank goodness.
Let me explain. Because you have these big games. Did Man United win this weekend? Did they have a good performance? And everyone hypes up like the FA Cup final, whatever it's going to be, a big game. And you get there and it's a dusty 1-0. And they're like, you've got all these eyes watching. Please perform well. And as a neutral, that was it was a good game in terms of the underdogs technically came out, played, won. Like the expected champions are all over the place. And I think it was a good game of football in terms of technically there was some good spells. People were prolific. There was goals. Everything you wanted to see in terms of publicising the game. Yeah. That was a great way. That was a great show to put on. So I think we need to congratulate more Arsenal than Chelsea because obviously... Of course you do, because Man United won, didn't they? Yeah. And you're happy, but we'll move on to that. But like, as I said, I think it was more of a dominant. I think Arsenal tactically got it right, and as I said, I spoke to Jonas, and they had to get that part of the game right. You had to, because in order for them their tactics to work, if they didn't get the press right and unsettle Chelsea, they probably wouldn't have that outcome that they did. So the fact that they were all on it and it clicked, it was good and entertaining. But Urfa, 59,000, how many? 59, let me go to it. And 42. We have to, don't forget the 42, because that's a big part in breaking the WSL record. No, but we have to talk about like the off-pitch stuff. It's amazing. Doing, because it's not even like, we've got it here in front of us. Obviously that's a broken record this year, but this year already, they've already got 54,150 against Liverpool, and that was against Liverpool in the opening game. They've got Aston Villa. Some would see it as a lesser game and not a top team. They still got out 35,829. But even if you go back to last season, when they played Chelsea at the Emirates, 46,811. When they played Man United there, 40,604. And then in the derby against Tottenham, 47,360 thingy. And then the Wolfsburg game, that's their record sold out. 60,000. That was mad. Even we could just about get in the game. It was so busy. So in terms of what they're doing off the pitch, and they've already sold 25,000 tickets for their game against Man United, what they're doing off the pitch is like, they're setting, which they've always done, Arsenal. They've always done it. They've always done it. But this is my whole point. I'm so team in the game. I'm so happy. Like, in terms of on the pitch, years ago, Arsenal dominated for years. Those that didn't watch it back then, they were the dominant force. 100%. Everything they did, people would follow. 100%. But obviously, success on the pitch hasn't been there of late, and obviously they kind of didn't put to a back burner, kind of like the Arsenal women now, whatever. But in terms of their commercial stuff, what they do, and everything in terms of like getting investment bums on seats, it's always been great. They're doing it better than anybody else. If there was any team need to take note and collab, is that the right word? Collab. Well, yeah. Well, I guess it's about good practice. Yeah, it's good like practice. This is it though. Like, if there was any team that I wanted to have success, it's Arsenal, because they've always over Man United in terms of women's football, because they've always invested. They've always looked at what's the best way to do it. How can we always be the leading person? So even though they haven't been getting trophies in the cabinet, like you said, of late, the work they're doing off the pitch, and I guess when that bit on the pitch comes together along with the product, it's crazy. And like, you were seeing it now. Like, yes, I know we talked about it before, Chelsea not doing as great off the pitch, but been focusing on the pitch and been reaping their rewards. All teams need to start looking at how can they do both at the same time. And it's not a one or the other. Obviously, in terms of resources, some are going to be slower than others, but some, just by the names alone, like someone like Man United, should be like, they should be now looking at what are they doing well.
100%.
How can we like make that work for our audience, for our crowd, and making sure that they can link that in making sure we have those consistent numbers. It's not just a one-off at the Emirates or when we're playing in our big stadiums. How are we making sure week in, week out, we're filling out our home ground?
Yeah.
Then even traveling fans, because then when those fans come across, it means that every time you're playing in a full stadium, it just makes the game so much better. So yeah, congratulations to Arsenal. It's absolutely, like, we had people flying in
but
from abroad.
Even I said it to you the other week, you half laughed at me, but I'm talking in terms of the stuff we're still doing, and in terms of them trying to grow their fan base, being at Ashton Gate and that. And I know it's on a smaller scale in terms of their fan capacity and obviously stadium capacity, but in terms of what they're doing to get those consistent numbers through the door, 15,000, 20,000 plus every week, is more than what other bigger clubs are doing in terms of really trying to build that fan base. So it is a thing where, like, you know, especially if we are to grow the game and we're growing it through brands and commercial and whatever else. But in terms of the fans, they should be asking the likes of Bristol, like, what are you doing in your community? Like, as a smaller club, on a smaller scale, Arsenal, what are you doing? Like, how can we make, and then in-house, they need to be doing more.
Yeah. Who is their Chelsea, community though? This is the thing.
That's what
they have to get to know.
They have to find out all these things, and we've seen the work that Arsenal do in the community anyway. They've been doing it for many years. Hence why we had the debate about diversity within the team, because
100%.
how much work they do within their area with different diverse groups. So they've always been leading the way, but I think they've obviously leading the way again in terms of getting fans into the stadium consistently. And I think teams need to look at how they can then build their fan base if we are to grow the game again.
100%. And I think we can't move on to the next match without talking about our superstar in terms of...
I was going to say me.
In terms of, we've had so many fans questions come in around LJ and the booking and what should it have been a red and should it have been a yellow. I think for me,
if VAR's at the game, it's a red card.
If VAR's at the game, it's a red card because it looks intentional. But
she reminds me so much of Kelly Smith.
It's like I'm saying, it's the same thing. If anyone has been watching women's football for a long time, Kelly Smith done that for years, and I guess now it's highlighted because there's cameras and because more people are seeing it. And I guess it's something that it's characteristics. It's part of the game. So again, we still need to remember, she's still a really young player. Like, she's still got so much that you can learn. And even if you do have, whether it's the incident in the World Cup or stuff like today, stuff like on the weekend, it's not a habit. She's been doing it for a while, so you have to unlearn to relearn. And I guess that's where you have the Serenas, the Emmas, the mature players that you have in place to, do you know what I mean, come on and I guess advise you and remind you and be there in the game, in the moment. And like we talked about another player that's a similar player, Katie McCabe, does stuff like that, and she's like has the armband that time. She captains Ireland, and she still has that little bit about her, that little bit of character where she.
And it's quite cool them two up against each other, to be honest.
Yeah. So you're gonna get it. I don't think we should like blow it out of proportion. I think it gets blown out of proportion because she is so good, and I guess any team that loses her, whether that's for a red card or a booking, it has an impact. It means that she can't continue to do her magic.
I think Emma recognised
she had to come off
straight away, so she could see the frustration building. It's something that I guess Lauren will learn as she develops, further as a player in terms of managing her emotion. And at times she probably hasn't done that too well. And then you get these little glimpses of, I don't know what you want to call it, but moments of madness, I guess, because it is. It's like
it's poor decision making, right?
Yeah. So. But yeah, as I say, Emma managed it well in taking her off. But you're going to get... The thing is, she doesn't help herself with those, but you're never going to take it out of her. Kelly never helped herself with those. Yeah. As you say, Katie does it and don't help herself. But you take the character out the player, you take the player out... You know what I mean? You take most of the player away. So I wouldn't want to lose her character and her personality within her play, because then who is she? Yeah. I think it's a huge part of the player that she is.
Yeah.
But, it could become costly if it continues, because people will start highlighting it as they've already done. Referees will start seeing it. And even if they don't see it, they'll pretend they've seen it. Yeah. Because
she's already highlighted in terms of...
So you're going to be highlighted in these
She's
things.
A superstar. She's most probably going to be one to watch in any fiction that she's in.
Of course.
She's a player of colour, so she's going to stand out like a sore thumb anyway. So like she's already got all the eyes on her as it is. And I think this is just an extra thing that Like you said, when we was talking about, we talk about referees, they talk about knowing players and knowing their characteristics.
You were known.
They will look out for stuff like that.
You was known.
I was known.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some great stuff.
Dirty player.
Never. But yeah, it is what it is. It's gone. I just want to see more great football in the weeks coming up.